You see them, those people who seem untouchable. Calm in the storm, silent in the chaos. We watch them with a mix of awe and envy, believing their stillness is a sign of deep inner peace, a result of some profound, enlightened wisdom. You might call it an aura of power, a shield forged from self-confidence. You see them in the eye of the hurricane, and you wish you could be them. But that calm, that deep, unsettling quiet, it's a lie. It's not the product of tranquility. It's the result of profound emotional amputation. It is not a virtue but a void. A state of being not of peace, but of profound detachment. This is the first brutal truth you must face. The calm you admire is not a sign that they have learned to manage their feelings. It's a sign that they have learned to sever them. The world sees composure, but what's really there is a chilling absence of the need to connect, to belong, to be understood. This isn't the quiet of a still pond reflecting the sky. It's the silence of a deep, frozen lake where nothing lives. This disconnection, this calm, is not born from self-love, but from a radical form of survival. It's the result of years spent cutting away the parts of themselves that craved warmth, that yearned for validation, that flinched at rejection. It's a slow, deliberate act of internal violence. A cold, surgical removal of the things that make us human and therefore vulnerable. Each cut made them a little less sensitive, a little more detached. It was a trade-off. Surrender the pain of vulnerability for the cold certainty of invulnerability. What you mistake for strength is the hardened shell of a person who no longer feels the sting of a blow because they no longer feel at all. Their control is not born from confidence, but from an extreme survival instinct that views every human interaction as a cold calculation, a negotiation. To them, a conversation isn't about connection. It's about evaluating threats and opportunities. They don't want to be liked. They want to be unreadable. They don't seek harmony. They seek an advantage. And this is where the quiet destruction begins, not outwardly, but within themselves. This journey to become untouchable begins with an act of sacrifice, the quiet execution of the part of yourself that screams for validation, love, and acceptance. It's a silent, internal war. The first casualty is not the external enemy, but your own desperate need to be seen, to be approved. The destruction is not loud or violent. It is a whisper that kills all sentiment, all desire for a place in the herd. It's a strategic choice, a cruel calculation. The weakness of others is their reliance on emotional bonds, and to truly transcend, you must become free from that same vulnerability. This silent destruction begins inside. It is a slow, methodical erasure of your own humanity, a process of becoming something more or less. You learn to observe without feeling, to analyze without attachment. The person you were, the one who sought connection and longed for a kind word, is a ghost you leave behind. The mind of a destruction genius is not clouded by hatred or anger. It is a cold, pragmatic tool. They don't see people as enemies, but as complex systems of predictable patterns. They are not fueled by personal animosity, but by a detached and clinical observation of human nature. This is a crucial distinction. The common person reacts with rage, with jealousy, with hurt. The genius sees these emotions in others and understands they are levers to be pulled, weaknesses to be exploited. They are not good or evil. They are simply predictable. You watch them fail, not with satisfaction, but with a cold, clear understanding of their flawed programming. To the genius, the world is a game of chess, and every person is a piece with a defined set of movements and limitations. They don't try to change the game. They learn to play it better than anyone else. The chaos of human emotion is not a problem. It is the terrain on which they operate. They learn to navigate it with a brutal, dispassionate clarity. There is no glorious sunset at the end of this road. The journey doesn't culminate in a state of enlightened happiness or joyful victory. The destination is not a light at the end of the tunnel, but a chilling echo of silence. The calm you so desperately sought isn't a reward. It's the realization that you have become a master of a game that has no winners. The ultimate prize is a profound and terrifying solitude. You stand alone, not on a pedestal of glory, but in a void of your own making. You achieved control, but you destroyed the very self you were trying to protect. You find that the ultimate power you craved was never truly yours, because the journey itself demanded you cease to exist as a person with a soul and emotions. You are left with a quiet, hollow truth. The war you waged against the world was a war against yourself, and in your victory, you lost everything. The quiet genius understands that manipulation is not a trick, but a science. It is not an art of deceit, but a brutal, honest understanding of human weakness. The great lie of humanity is the need for validation, for security, for belonging. People will contort themselves, betray their own principles, and abandon their truth for a fleeting sense of safety or a moment of admiration. The genius doesn't judge this. They simply observe it. They see this universal need not as a flaw to be pitted, but as a lever to be used. They see the frantic dance of human interaction and understand its desperate choreography. They see a person's longing for connection as a wire to be pulled, a point of entry. It is the purest form of strategic advantage, turning the weakness of others into your greatest strength. The most profound shift in this journey is the evolution of perception. The common man tries to connect. The quiet genius stops trying and begins to calculate. They transform every relationship from an emotional bond into an equation. People are no longer friends, lovers, or partners. They are variables. They are a means to an end. It is a cold, apathetic process, but to the genius, it is the only way to operate with absolute clarity. The warmth of a smile, the comfort of a touch, the sincerity of a compliment, all become data points. They no longer ask, "What does this person feel?" Instead, they ask, "What does this person need, and how can I use it to achieve my objective?" The human heart, with all its chaotic and beautiful contradictions, becomes a system to be debugged, a puzzle to be solved. And once solved, its weaknesses are known. Power is not found in the construction of walls to protect yourself. Walls are static, predictable, and can be broken. True power is found in becoming the storm itself, the force that shatters the walls of others. The genius doesn't build, they destroy. They don't hate, they observe. They understand that a person's greatest strength is often their greatest liability, the very thing that makes them vulnerable to a targeted, precise attack. This is not about anger or revenge. It is about a brutal, precise, and utterly dispassionate comprehension of how the world works. The world is full of walls people build around their emotions, their insecurities, their fears. The genius doesn't try to climb them. They simply find the weakest point and apply the right pressure. The destruction is silent because it doesn't need to be loud. It is inevitable. It is the logical conclusion of a game understood on a deeper level than anyone else dares to comprehend. The final price for achieving this level of quiet mastery is the quiet surrender of your own humanity. The process of silent destruction you inflict on others demands a parallel, silent destruction of the self. To eliminate all hesitation, all moral flinching, you must first excise the parts of you that feel guilt, that question your methods, that seek a higher purpose. You must become an empty vessel, a perfect instrument of action. There can be no room for remorse or self-doubt. You learn to see your own past not as a series of emotional experiences, but as a data log, a collection of variables to be analyzed for patterns and weaknesses. The person you once were, full of hopes, fears, and a longing for connection, is now just a ghost in the machine, a memory that proves how far you've come from the flawed, emotional creature you used to be. The journey is not one of self-discovery, but of self-erasure. This is where true wisdom reveals itself. It is not found in building a fortress around your heart. It is found in seeing that everyone else is a fortress waiting to be breached, their defenses nothing more than fragile masks. You see through the frantic need for social status, the desperate search for approval, the pretense of happiness. You realize that beneath the polished facade, people are just patterns, predictable, desperate for control, and slaves to the very emotions you have so meticulously eliminated from yourself. Their rage is a signal of their fear. Their pride is a mask for their insecurity. Their desire for admiration is a weakness to be exploited. And you, in your quiet emptiness, become the one who can see it all. You are no longer playing their game. You are playing the game itself, with them as the unwitting pawns. The reason for their actions is now clear. Most people are driven by an emotional narrative they tell themselves. They act out of anger, seek validation out of insecurity, and crave power out of fear. But you, the silent genius, operate on a different plane. Your lack of need for approval is not a goal. It is a fundamental state of being. You no longer act out of revenge or anger. because those emotions require a connection to an adversary. Instead, you act with absolute clarity and cold, detached purpose. The target is not a person who wronged you, but a predictable obstacle in your path. The objective is not revenge, but the most efficient, brutal removal of that obstacle. There is no moral weight to your actions, no hesitation, no wasted energy. You are a force of nature, unfeeling and unstoppable, because you have surrendered the very thing that makes others human and, therefore, weak. You have shed your humanity for efficiency, and in doing so, you have become something else entirely. True power lies in absence. It is not found in being seen, but in becoming invisible. The genius understands that the need for recognition is a fatal weakness, a craving that makes you predictable and easy to manipulate. The most powerful move is the one that no one sees coming, the action so seamless and devoid of ego that it erases the need for a reaction. It is a quiet demolition, a strategic act of forgetting yourself so completely that you can no longer be remembered by the world. It's an efficiency of action that seeks to remove the need to be understood, because to be understood is to be known, and to be known is to be vulnerable. This power is not about making a grand entrance, but about becoming a ghost, an influence that changes the game without ever setting foot on the board. Your victory isn't a loud declaration. It is the silent, irrefutable change in the landscape around you. The path to invulnerability is a paradox. It demands the acceptance of an inner void. You must embrace the absence of feeling, the stillness of a mind that no longer echoes with the noise of desire, fear, or a sense of self. In the quiet of this emptiness, you find a chilling freedom. Without the emotional anchors of attachment, you are not tethered to anything or anyone. You are free to move, to act, and to observe with perfect clarity. In this state, you are neither a god nor a person. You are simply an equation, a force of logic in a world of emotion. Your decisions are not driven by what you want, but by what is necessary. You exist outside the realm of human sentiment, a detached observer and a cold executor. You have traded the warmth of connection for the cold, unyielding power of pure efficiency. The silent genius doesn't enter people's lives with a bang. They enter with a whisper. Their presence is a subtle shift, a quiet influence that slowly, imperceptibly, begins to rearrange the rules of the game. And when they don't leave with a dramatic exit. They leave a vacuum, a void where their influence once was. What was once a subtle presence becomes a catastrophic absence. The lives of those they touch don't just feel empty, they collapse. The silence isn't a lack of sound, it's the deafening echo of a presence that was so fundamental, its removal causes a complete and total breakdown. The power of the quiet is not in the noise it can make, but in the silence it can leave behind. A stillness that proves, beyond a doubt, that you were never just a person, but an unfeeling, unstoppable force. Most people who attempt to walk this path, who mistake coldness for power, fail. They believe that by mimicking the outward calm and detachment, they have achieved true mastery. But they are trapped in a profound contradiction. They still yearn for recognition, for love, for acceptance, even as they try to project an image of invulnerability. They want to be feared, but they also want to be admired. This internal conflict, this desperate need for the very things they claim to have abandoned, is their greatest vulnerability. It is a fatal flaw, a crack in their armor that the true genius sees immediately. Their quiet is just a performance, a costume they wear, and beneath it, they are a mess of raw, unresolved emotions. They are not powerful, they are merely fragile. The fatal error lies in confusing power with destruction. The average person who wants to be feared acts out of emotion. They lash out in anger, they seek revenge out of a sense of betrayal. Their actions are clumsy, predictable, and fueled by a primal need for emotional release. This is not the way of the quiet genius. The genius acts with a clarity that is unburdened by feeling. There is no rage, no fury, only a cold, precise execution of a plan. They are not driven by a desire to hurt, but by a need to achieve an objective. They don't hesitate, they don't waver, and they don't lose control. While the common man is consumed by the fire of their own rage, the genius is the silent water that extinguishes it, or worse, the silent wind that spreads the fire to its desired target. The decision to become the silent genius is a point of no return. You cannot simply try it on like a new suit of armor and then discard it. Once you cross the line of quietly destroying your soul to become unforgettable, there is no turning back. The person you were is gone forever. You cannot unlearn the brutal truths you have come to see, cannot undo the emotional calluses you have built. The innocence, the vulnerability, the capacity for simple human connection. All of it is a sacrifice made at the altar of power. The price for becoming invincible is a permanent state of solitude. You will never again be able to look at the world with the same eyes, or feel with the same heart. This is the ultimate, uncomfortable truth of the path. In your victory, you become something powerful and unyielding, but you also become something irrevocably alone. The journey promised to make you a god, but it leaves you as nothing more than a ghost of the person you once were.